these guys actually lane swap on the side of TSM. You know, will Bjergsen continue to keep this rise, or will he swap it over? Because there is the potential to still put Pyke into that Jace if that's what they want to go for. But this is very aggressive here from FlyQuest. It feels so much about the early game. You need to dominate with this Elise. You need to have bullying lanes here. And they are really going to try to ramp up the pace against TSM.
Well, Azale, it feels like Contract's left the champ off the pool. Says you need a physical damage top laner like Jace or like Renekton. Well, how about Riven for Viper alongside the Elise? This is definitely going to be the telegraph of, hey, we really want to blow this top lane. That Pyke is going to stay up there. I am excited for what those two players can do. It is a very physical heavy team. You're relying on jungle, Elise, and support Lux for your magic damage. So if Hecarim gets tanky, that's going to be a bit hard to deal with. But this is an exciting draft. FlyQuest putting a lot of effort on getting Viper to win his 1v1.
And I'm really excited to see if they can pull this one off. Really think they need to dominate the early game. If you allow this TSM squad to get to those later stages, we saw what they wanted to do, and we saw it against CLG. Very easy to execute, diving onto a champion like Lux, similar to what they did against Biofrost on his Zyra. You really can abuse those low mobility mage supports with Hecarim in combination with that Taric. So gonna have to get a lot of work done here early.
Let's see how much work they can do. We are on to the Rift, everybody. TSM 1-1, FlyQuest 0-2. The big story we had coming into the summer split was who could crack the top three of last splits, Team Liquid, TSM, and Cloud9. FlyQuest was one of the ones that got the nod, but it was a slow start for them. And Santorin said early practice wasn't going their way, but now they're on the Rift against one of these top three teams. They are up against TSM, a team that did look mortal in week one. And this is a good time to strike for FlyQuest.
Certainly is, and something that already I'm kind of noticing here is it's actually coin Sona. This is the first time I've seen Sona Taric without the Spell Feast. I think this does make quite a bit of sense against such an impressive lane like the Caitlyn and the Lux, because you're simply not going to have winning trades with them oftentimes very early. If you ever do get bound up, you are going to potentially even just die to a trap plus binding combo. So this is going to allow Sven to play quite passively and still maintain a high level of income. So, you know, his damage will be down a bit, but he's going to complete that Sight Zone faster and then be able to start his farming faster as a result.
It's also going to be more mana regen than a Spell Thief would have given, so if he is on heal duty all lane long to keep Smoothie alive, he's going to be a bit better at that as well. And we are going to see what happens in these level 1s. Is it a fairly aggressive Trinket Ward? We'll spot the Raptor camp as TSM unleashes the red buff for Acadian. The duo of FlyQuest going to get right over to the lane at the start of this one and not deal with a 2-on-2 too early on. Acadian knocks that one down, then he's going to try to bypass the Trinket Ward. Now he'll walk right to the Raptor camp and he'll be spotted doing so.
Yeah, so in these early levels, you can see Turtle and JJ posturing very aggressively. They want to be able to threaten, you know, onto this lane. And remember, it's Smoothie that has to be taking the farm before Sven actually completes his quest. You know, that is usually how they are going to play it out. And that is going to be very, very difficult for him to actually get done here against the Lux and a Caitlyn. And not only can they actually, you know, bully out that 2v2, they're very effective at sieging the turrets, at knocking down turret plates. So that is certainly another part of their plan here. If they do win that 2v2 very heavily, you can start to move them around the map. Pyke is certainly not someone who can kind of hold in that 1v2 type scenario either. Very low on the wave clear. So, you know, if they have success there, it could mean a lot of turret plates going down across the map.
And right now, actually, Taric has not even been allowed to get farm, so it's 4 CS on Sona, and poor Smoothie kind of waiting for farm to get his way. We wait around as these battles keep going back and forth. The poke lead obviously does go with the FlyQuest side. The healing is what TSM's going to do to not die in this one as Zen walks up, grabs that little bit of extra gold, and 7 CS with 1 for a support is a fairly slow start here. Now, I am curious if this lane just ends up being Sona just farming directly and taking, you know, whenever the coins do come in, that's the play style. Again, I have not seen coin Sona myself as the farm role, but who knows? Maybe it's an innovation I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, this way you can actually farm, you know, without having it turned off like the Spell Thieves would be. So, you know, that might just be the idea here. This will be a much lower income Taric then. You know, certainly an adaptation on the strategy, which I think makes sense. And this is a dive you cannot really pull off because Acadian is here. So they're going to have to just back off, but already getting some good chip down on this turret. Acadian, right place, right time, though, to dissuade this dive. And even Pobelter making the roam.
Yeah, coming on down and making sure that a little bit of that farm was lost. You can see 19-11. At this point, it does feel like Sona is actually the primary farm member as far as I can tell. So cool new look here onto this one, but it's still an early turret plate taken down. It was Akaji who had to path correctly to be there, and okay, to his credit, he did and stays alive on this one, but this is still a 2-on-2 lead that's going pretty well on FlyQuest's side.
I think it's smart, right? You know, if Smoothie was trying to be the primary farmer here, I do think he would just be taking too much poke, probably losing too much health, and you're just going to hard lose the lane off of that. But even with this strategy, you can see Sven already sent back to base. Hopefully for him, he has enough for that coin upgrade. He does have teleport. Turtle is also playing TP, so, you know, we'll be trying to really keep this tempo up in this bottom lane.
All right, so in we go. Back onto the map is Sven burning his first teleport and getting just the Fairy Charm and a refillable potion. Not the most exciting start. Also the coin upgrade, which, yeah, as Azale thumbs up to me silently and says, Freak, don't miss that one. The coin upgrade, of course, probably the biggest thing you're looking for in that recall.
Exactly. You really want to get that early gold income. That is so much of what it is about.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of interesting to me because I do think that, you know, this is a really smart adaptation based on the lane that they're playing against. I wonder in a situation like this, if it doesn't just make sense to actually just go Airy then instead of Klepto as well, right? Because for the similar thought process, if you're not actually getting a lot of autos off in lane, the Klepto gold is going to be very low. You're not going to be like actually stealing a lot of things. And we'll have to kind of track throughout the game how much he's really able to get through that Klepto. Because if he's not getting a ton, I do tend to think Airy would probably just be more effective.
Sure. I actually agree with that Keystone choice here. One thing I do want to point out with this coin plus farm Sona, gold basically identical to Wild Proto. Despite the 10 CS difference, the gold is, well, actually, yeah, within 12 here. So this is definitely working out. He is on parity completely, and eventually that will be a late but eventual combine there as they go for a little bit of damage there. Sven takes a couple of hits, and now some attacks back towards JJ as the Lux tries to farm up through the Spell Thieves. Does have more gold than Tyrek, otherwise, though, fairly equal. Quick check in on the top lane. A small farm lead towards Broken Blade, but with a very large wave for Viper to farm. Means Riven, in my mind, is actually winning in CS and will long term. But this has been a fairly close 1v1.
Yeah, and thus far, you know, Santorin really hasn't made many moves. He did go down to that bottom side. It was answered by Acadian, so not really any commitment to that. Besides that, he's just been kind of power farming here. You know, he is up in experience over Acadian, currently level 5 to level 4, but it's not the kind of explosive early game that I think you're really hoping for as FlyQuest. I do think that you were hoping by the time Hecarim is 6, that Santorin has already killed a number of people or forced a lot of summoners or kind of, you know, created some sort of significant advantage for his team, and that certainly is not the case just yet.
And right now, Santorin is lying in wait, hoping he finds Hecarim in rotation, apparently, as doesn't walk by any of the control wards that has been put down earlier. Looks like he popped a blast cone and now goes to fight this ward as the red buff has spawned. And right now, Acadian is taking the long way around. Level 5 now on both these players. And who actually now found out by Poether as well, as mid lane is missing and Acadian is going to be shoved out of his jungle. The red buff will be stolen. So there is that glimmer of early game aggressive jungling that you were hoping for at the Elise. It's not a kill, but it's a buff steal.
Yeah, and this is really nice. And you can also see, you know, if you look at the mini-map, you know, this bottom side of the jungle, look at all these wards that they do have in this whole area. These 4 wards around there for FlyQuest. They're trying to establish control in this area because Pobelter has the push in mid lane. So that would allow you to then set up a situation where you can bring that 4-man bot for a potential dive. That is what they were kind of showing in those early levels. They haven't been able to pull it off thus far, but you know, that is the kind of thing that you do want to see. I will say it is a bit surprising to me, though, that he hasn't been playing more towards the Riven. That is where I was expecting them to have more focus, kind of around those solo lanes. And, you know, so far they've been happy to just have Pyke farming against this Riven evenly. Yep. And no significant advantage really has come from Viper's Riven pick.
And I'm curious what the matchup actually looks like long term, if it is one that, you know, flips on one item and going equal, and then suddenly you've got Tiamat and you win the game. Like, you know, I just don't know how that plays out, but that might be what's in their head.
Yeah, and I do think, you know, Riven certainly will win the 1v1s. You know, there's a certain point in the game where, you know, you are starting to get tanky enough once you have a lot of CDR as the Riven. The Pyke is going to really struggle to even get you into execute range. But Pyke doesn't really care about winning that 1v1 unless you're diving him and actually killing him. His goal is more just push the wave, roam, and join these explosive team fights where Hecarim is going to be diving into the backline with a Taric ultimate, trying to get one of these squishy members low, and then all of a sudden Broken Blade can pop off in that fight and really start looking for the executes and the resets.
Pretty good damage down here as Sven is now out of mana despite the very heavy regen build. The 4th plate almost taken under 9 minutes in. One of the benefits of this Aftershock Lux is it's very trivial to get demolish in that page and just get the chunks down. So 1100 health in that turret, but here comes TSM.
Base checking at the wrong time.
Vine hits one. Aftershock's on for a bit of durability, but JJ's going to have to flash, get away. But here comes the fear on top of Crescendo. Tarek's stun lands as well, and the shield will not be enough. First blood comes in for Sven. Damage towards Turtle. Now we've got Santorin coming around.
Viper.
Is this going to be a chance for FlyQuest to get anything done? No, Viper TPs looks like back to top lane, or it gets canceled by Pike. I'm not
canceled.
sure.
Yeah, Pike must have canceled that because he was actually TPing on that pink ward. He was about to be in the middle of 4 people with Flash Ultimate up. That could have been huge for them, but we'll see if we can get a replay. I can almost guarantee you Pike did interrupt that, as I saw the teleport was coming through on the map, and that is still a very nice play for TSM. They grab first blood for themselves. It goes to the Sona, so that is, doing a lot of work to equalize all the extra gold that the plates had given them. And here this is one more time. JJ is expecting that this play could happen. He just does not realize that it is already here. So face checking at the wrong time there. Acadian played this out very, very well. He gets on top of him, waits for him to flash to then ultimate. And yeah, that is... Oh, Viper was not quite in the brush. He was standing just outside the brush, so Broken Blade actually had vision to cancel that. But imagine this situation where Viper shows up on top of 4 stacked members and flash stuns with the ulti. Shock Blast comes through. Maybe something crazy is able to be turned around. Still, great job by Broken Blade, and that's TSM coming out on top on the bottom side of the map.
Yep, good fight right there. It meant the bot lane goal between Sona and Caitlyn was equalized. As you mentioned, it does a lot to counteract what those plates had done earlier on. This is still FlyQuest up a bit of gold, though, and it's FlyQuest with the Cloud Trick afterwards. The Santorin had control of bot river, so this early game does look good for them. Broken Blade getting away.
Yeah. I mean, I still just tend to think game state-wise, gold and everything like that, that's fine. But when you're looking at the compositions, I am very worried for FlyQuest early game. The fact that, you were level 7 and Elise has not pulled off a single successful gank. This is not why you pick Elise. You pick Elise to slam the early game, to be constantly repeat ganking, not to be farming even against the Hecarim. And now the Hecarim is post 6. As these guys start to get more and more of their items, they can start to group up and force fights, and that is a situation where Elise just doesn't really want to be.
Yep. But you can see the way that FlyQuest moving their team around the map. They know the 2-on-2 looks good for them, and they can obviously 2-on-1 the Pike. They're trying to put Caitlyn in lanes where you can farm plates. They got off that bot lane, left it at 1, sent the duo top side. We know Rift Herald is alive here, and, well, there's 4 members in this river, so that might be picked up before too long. But they're trying to farm the first 14 minutes of the game off of TSM structures and using that early 2-on-2. What we have seen with Sona Tarek for a while now is they lose the early laning phase. It's the mid game they turn on. That's a bind on a 2, but it means JJ has to walk away, and here comes Hecarim again. Finds the fear, not the stun though. Isn't enough damage though. JJ trying to run away. Does not have the flash any longer, and he does walk away. The shields were enough to stay alive, bypassing the first 2 ultimates used by TSM.
Yeah, the Aftershock huge. Couple points in that W shield as well for JJ. Did help him out, and it was honestly a really nice sidestep, but now they're going in.
And Crescendo on it too is a lot of damage. Smithy gets the follow-up stun as well. Here comes Acadian, just comes in time. Repel, try and get away, smite it, slowed down. Here comes the reinforcements. Is it enough damage? Binding not gonna land. There's a root onto the front line. Looking at killing 1, looking at a second, and JJ just gets blown down. TSM 3-0.
Yeah, Bjergsen able to TP in from base, following up with the Realm Warp here too. And he's even looking like he wants to go for the Righteous Glory build. So this is the LPL special. Doenby really making this build quite popular. We haven't been seeing it in NA though. So this is going to be Seraph's very likely into Righteous Glory. And if you fully follow that Doenby special, it will be followed up by a Rylai's. And it's so strong for engaging, for brawling, for being up in your opponent's face and finding those initial fights.
Well, the kills are going TSM's way. The objectives have been going for FlyQuest, though, as bot lane tier 1. We first turn to the game. Velter leeches the local gold into that one, but this can be answered pretty quickly as Acadian picks up the Soul of the Rift Herald picked up now and has a minute to summon it if he wants plays with that. Otherwise, you can summon it later on and go for that secondary turret, 500 gold.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does use it. I do tend to really like when they drop it pre-14 for just the guaranteed kind of 360 gold that you can get from that. And we'll see if that is going to be the option here, or if they elect to kind of save it for later on when they're going to try to group 5 and look for a siege situation, try to force FlyQuest to group up and fight them 5v5, which is not really the situation that FlyQuest wants to be in. Here is the pro view replay. Bjergsen having TP'd in from base, avoiding that trap, gets in on top of JJ, and a nice combo able to knock him down. As soon as the Aftershock is gone, if there's not a pre-shield, Lux is very, very squishy. There's no health built up. There's no MR or armor built up. So you are really reliant on that Aftershock and on your positioning to kind of stay safe in these fights.
And of course, that can be really difficult when you got Moby Boots and those get turned off by being hit. So JJ, unfortunately, 0-2 and 0. The early duo has done well with turret pressure, but the fights have still gone TSM's way. The gold remains FlyQuest favorite, and actually more so than it was a little while ago. But again, TSM, I think they scale really, really well, and that's, you know, maybe just completely fine for them.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see how FlyQuest is kind of trying to play this out, right? Because now the game becomes, once you're in this position where, yep, you didn't snowball the early game, it becomes about, can you avoid the team fight? Can you force TSM to constantly have to answer you in those side lanes? Because if FlyQuest can hard commit to a 1-3-1 style strategy and kind of never be forced to actually group and fight, then they're going to be in a pretty good spot to kind of avoid a lot of the power that Sonateric brings. But here is Acadian dropping the Rift Herald, trying to force FlyQuest to group up and answer them. They do get the charge, but they won't get much more off of that besides positioning on this Infernal, and that's where they want to go. They're trying to force FlyQuest to come to them for a 5v5.
Yep, there we go. The Flash Crush not going to land those. Splits the upright. Here comes the engage anyway. Hecker in the middle, finds 2 Fears, gets that first kill and a reset for Broken Blade, and they can certainly chase for more. Do they find the opening? Akini goes down. Viper has arrived, and his fangs are sharp. 2 kills picked up for FlyQuest, turning the fight right around.
Yeah, a bit of an overchase there from Acadian. The cooldowns were ending. He kept wanting more, hoping to get someone into low enough HP that Broken Blade could get another ultimate down, but they didn't have the follow-up. And Viper turns it around on them. That is a huge couple kills going the way of FlyQuest, which also results in that Infernal Dragon.
Big pickup there, and this is feeling like a solid mid-game as FlyQuest are doing a pretty good job. The 0-2 start to the split. Maybe it's going to be turned around here with a fight, with a eventual win over TSM. Watch that fight again. Sven just barely missing.
Yeah, it actually looked like JJ maybe was kind of hooked out of that ultimate. I'm not quite sure as the Pike ultimate did hit him. Either way, they do knock down JJ, but the return damage is huge here as everyone from FlyQuest, those are the 4 main threats who are still alive. So Acadian going forward with that Taric ultimate falling off, he is not a tanky horse and does get knocked down very, very quickly. This is going to put Viper in a pretty nice position here. Viper now very strong in this 1v1. He has his Black Cleaver as well as the Caulfield, so he's sitting on a lot of CDR at this point in the game, and is going to really be getting to that point where he can dominate the 1v1 very easily.
He's sitting 1,000 gold over Broken Blade. It's like 20% gold lead individually. That should be enough to give him a lot of say over how this matchup plays out. Taking down that bottom scuttle, no problem as well, and it still sits in this 2,000 gold lead for FlyQuest with 2 in-combat Drakes, which can help kind of withstand how much combat stats TSM have with their 2 Aura bots.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime you can win a grouped up team fight against TSM, that bodes so well because FlyQuest, for the most part, is wanting to play the 1-3-1. They are wanting to play the side lane. So, you know, TSM, it's on them to try to force the hand of FlyQuest with these hard engages, but the 3-man squad from FlyQuest that is going to be defending these turrets is quite safe. You have Elise who can help to clear the waves out with the volatile spiderlings. Lux has fairly good wave clear. Caitlyn does as well. You know, these champions are all in combination as a 3-man squad, going to be able to clear out those waves pretty quickly, and hopefully for them, buy time for their Riven and Jace to be successful in the side lanes.
All right, now we have 1.5 items in for Caitlyn as Wild Turtle has the Zeal, and the IE, of course, already done for a while now. The Seraphs has some time to go. The Sona about 2/3 of the way until that's going to turn all the way around from Archangels up, building toward the next item as well. Typical hunting guys coming through eventually. Not hunting guys, sorry. Abyssal Mask coming through eventually for Smoothie. But we're kind of in transition for a lot of the TSM purchases right now.
Yeah, and the Abyssal Mask is going to be a lot further into the game than it normally would be because he was not farming in the early stages. Remember, this is a lot lower income than Taric
default support Taric income.
Exactly. Like, this is just a regular support Taric building a fairly expensive item. So it's going to be quite a while before he does finish that up. And you know, another thing I never really got to kind of talk about with the Righteous Glory here on Bjergsen that he's going to be building towards is also that both of the split pushers, people in the side lanes, are both going to be dealing physical damage. So you know, the Glacial Shroud in and of itself is just quite effective and quite an efficient item, whether you're going up against Viper or Pobelter.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be really one-running Elise in this game, and you beat JJ regardless, so I agree. It definitely super fits the bill based on game state, based on enemy composition. Now, has the Merc Treads to deal with CC, has some Flat Pen to get some more damage output in these fights later on. And you can see, again, Viper very easily able to knock down these waves. Broken Blade putting a ward down, making sure he's not getting dove by the Elise. Mid lane tier 1 now falls as well, as FlyQuest seem to have the somewhat better 4-on-4. Granted, you've got Bjergsen up there in the top side, but this is a map state that feels like it's going FlyQuest's way.
Yeah, definitely the case, but we all know how well a lot of these champions do scale. Sona, Taric, Ryze, and Hecarim, in particular, that 4-man squad, do just continually get stronger and stronger the later the game goes. And I do think that they will start to outpace a lot of the people that they're sitting across from when you're looking particularly at the Elise and the Jace. Those champions can, I think, struggle in the late game team fights compared to some of their opponents. So FlyQuest, though, doing a pretty good job thus far. They have knocked down 2 of the outer turrets. They're still up over 2,000 gold, and the Infernal, I think, really helping to kind of secure some of that advantage going towards the late game when they have 5 champions who are building AD and AP. This is, you know, a fairly aggressive squad here.
Now, once again, mid lane pushed in and answered by FlyQuest here as we wait again for this game state to push forward. 40 seconds on Drake spawn. That's going to be, I think, one of the big triggers here in this game. It's starting the action up once again. FlyQuest have been the team to have better control over neutrals. Now fighting for this ward right here, but have to respect what the engage could be over the wall. That ward that makes them feel very safe, and the Shock Blast pushes TSM right off.
And this buy from Viper is so enormous going into this Infernal, but TSM is trying to look for the engage.
Big stun stops it as well.
Great
the
disengage.
Terrical does absolutely nothing. There is no hard engage here.
Yeah, and Viper just bought his Death Dance. He's now on Black Cleaver Death Dance at level 13, and he is ready to go.
Spend 1-3. Hecarim over the top. JJ's gone already, but Viper, he wants blood. He gets one answered back, now fights for a bit more, but Brooklyn over the wall. Almost in lethal range, not just yet though. 2 for 1 to FlyQuest. Make it a third. They are winning these fights with 4 kills to 1.
The disengage from FlyQuest was so good, and TSM stuck around. It looked like they wanted to try to fight it out or see if they could get something done anyway, but without the Taric ultimate, without that major cooldown, and with Viper on this huge power spike, Viper dives into the backline, essentially 1v3, and he's the one coming out on top.
Massive stuff out of the marquee champion of the FlyQuest top laner. He's put in 10,000 games in this one at least, and it shows. 2-0-2, the big factor in this fight.
Yeah, and that cocoon was absolutely enormous. The TP was committed. They decide to stay around, though. They're not fully retreating out of this. Now, notice Broken Blade is split off from the rest of the team. In goes Santorin.
Wow,
the flash from Sven was really nice, but they don't have the full complement of people there. Broken Blade was not there for the ultimate reset. And look at Viper, he just gets right in on top of Sven, knocks him down, takes Smoothie out. And TSM in disarray after that failed engage. FlyQuest get the Baron and will now be able to move over towards this Infernal and look to grab that as well.
It seems to be one of the ways you have to try to beat this Sona Taric sort of team is find a way to withstand the Terrical to not get burst out, but then have burst damage yourself that can't sustain through it. And Riven, who is ahead, diving a Sona without any armor is a pretty good way to knock someone down before the heals can really matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty insane. Viper is up 2K now on his lane opponent and has double Infernal, which is a tremendous amount of additional AD at this point in the game. So that value is really skyrocketing for them. And with this Baron buff, they are in a position where they could snowball this game and close it out. TSM, you know, really looking like they do not have the answers right now. So they are going to try to just pull the map apart. They're putting Bjergsen out to the side lane here, having him split push, and they're looking to just trade gold for gold because they know that they are behind, and if you can trade equally from that spot, it's going to be pretty good.
Well, you can see a 5, almost 6,000 gold with Baron buff on for 2 minutes. They're pushing in for even more here, looking at the inhibitor tower itself. Now, ults are up for the TSM contingent, but if they even press those buttons or they win the fight. As we wait and go back and forth across these lanes, Viper once again in the bottom lane. Broken Blade gonna have a pretty hard time fighting him out of this one. Does have a bit of wave through it. Baron minions are quite tanky against champions.
I mean, Broken Blade can't do anything at all in the 1v1. I think Viper wins the 1v1 under Broken Blade's turret at this point in the game. So,
Probably.
you know, it's pretty brutal when the Viper is on 40% CDR from ahead with a Death Dance. You just don't have the damage to actually get him low before he knocks you down. So TSM is constantly going to have to send a second member down to support, and that is why they are looking potentially for an engage down here. Bjergsen moving down is around. They're at least going to clear it out.
All right, minion wave cleared. He has backup from Bjergsen, and TSM are weathering the storm. There's only a minute left on this Baron buff, and that means 2 more rounds of this. But inhibitor turret in the mid lane going to drop as Wild Turtle very safely in the back line just puts out the damage. Rapid fire cannon long since finished, and it means he can hit those turrets from very far away. Second seal in inventory as well as he puts the shots in. Inhibitor's dropping.
And notice how they're playing on this trap line that Turtle has set up. There's 4 traps there that they're constantly dipping back to. That is very difficult for TSM to actually engage into. So with this great siege composition that they actually have from ahead, TSM is really, really struggling to hold on here. First inhibitor is already down. There is still 20 more seconds on this Baron buff, and they could very likely take a second.
Glimmer for Broken Blade, finds the pullback on Centaur, not the stun, but they're gonna go for the play right now. Fear comes in, finds 2, the stun on top. Is this the fight that TSM needs? But Viper charges right back in. It's venomous, 4 kills, and the stopwatch stops the reset. So nothing comes through for Pyke. It's 4 for 0, and FlyQuest will wreak havoc. They will take out the TSM base, and a sub 25-minute victory. We said, could FlyQuest top of the top 3? Well, they will top of the finalists here. FlyQuest take down the Nexus and take down TSM.
What an incredible game here from FlyQuest. Absolutely dismantling TSM, and Viper in particular popping off in these team fights on the Riven, really making it work here. FlyQuest have got to be feeling so good about that after the rough week 1 start, bouncing back, taking down TSM, one of that top 3 that so many people have been talking about.
At the start of the summer split, Viper said, I want, when you think of FlyQuest, that you think of me first. And he was massive on this Riven. Got his pick for last, baited in the Pyke, said, I will play Riven in this matchup, I will smash. The early laning phase went equal, but the mid game was nothing but a one-sided affair. Huge in the team fights, dove the back line, several times single-handedly killing the Sona, maybe the Terragon, but afterwards, huge playmaker there, great TPs, lots of farm, lots of damage.
Yeah, he played an incredible game, but you've got to say, from the side of TSM, they were not looking very coordinated with this hard engage style team. And when I look at that last fight, FlyQuest played great, but at the same time, Viper